And this is going to be the second in hopefully a continuing set of live streams where I go over the comments that channel members have made to videos that we've created on Ray's Guide and respond to them individually as a way of providing value added to the member community. I love you guys because you give me money. I've always said that about customers. Customers are the most wonderful people in the world because they give us money. And so as a result, we're going to be answering member questions as a way of, again, providing additional value to the members. MASH JVS on the starter ship video said, thanks for adding availability, the additional column I put in that. Next time, please add the ability to jump to Pyro on the list. On this year's list, I had kind of a catch-all for driving yourself around, personal transportation, and I just gave that to every one of the ships because right now there isn't any ship can really get you where you need to go. Once we have Pyro, that's going to be a different question. Once we have master modes, how effective a ship is going to be is going to getting you around is going to change. So therefore, I just gave everybody this go around for lack of data, basically. But I do plan on taking that one criteria, the one about personal transportation, and making it a composite of can you get to the jump points? Can you get out of atmosphere fast? Can you quantum between planets and moons relatively fast or between planets? All of that I'm going to try to put into some sort of formula once we have more data and come up with the 1 to 5 stars on the personal transportation part. Nate the Great said every starter ship should have a bed. I definitely had having a bed be a criteria, but I don't want to make that a limiting criteria, mostly because I found that in my runabout ship that I use, which lately has been a Drake Cutter, but also even before that, when my roundabout ship was the Avenger, I didn't really use the bed that often. That may have been because the beds weren't working very well, but in general, I did not use the beds very often. So I wouldn't want to make that. I'll keep it as a criteria, but I wouldn't want to make it a blocker because that way you would say that the Anvil Arrow couldn't be a starter ship, and I wouldn't want to, or that the Hawk couldn't be a starter ship. So I won't make it a blocking factor in terms of whether something could be recommended as a starter ship. And then Roswell Cache. This is the one I'm going to spend most of my time today on. On the base building, second video, the one titled What We May Have Already Paid For in Base Building, said, I'm confused where anyone said it was going to be circles. You just pulled an argument out of thin air. Yes and no. They showed circles. And the real thing that they said that caused me alarm wasn't just circles. It was that when Todd Pappy said you could put your pick anywhere, your data spike anywhere, and set whatever radius you want. And that is what creates the real problematic efficiencies and problems with early arrivals. I could illustrate that with circles, or I could illustrate that with squares, because they showed circles and because circles were not what was promised, and circles had additional problems over the problem that you arise with squares. I decided to keep the video on course and not make it overly long by just showing the problems with circles. But I picked circles not because I was making an argument on nothing, but I could show illustrations with circles, I could show illustrations with squares, and it would be overly complicated if I tried to cover both examples. But I'm going to do that now. We're using this piece of leftover Christmas paper, leftover gift wrapping paper. Now, like a lot of gift wrapping papers, this has a set of grids on the back. This particular piece has a grid of 15 by 20 squares on it. So let's imagine that we're doing the system that Todd Pappy was describing. You could put your data spike anywhere and pick any size of a square that you want. Let's say up to a maximum of 5 squares. So let's say the first person comes into this area and they pick this 5 by 5 square area. Second person comes into the area. They pick this area. Third person comes into the area. And they pick this area. So now we've got 3 out of the whole area of come in. And at this point, one more person could come in and pick, for example, this area. And one could pick this area. And one could pick this area. So we brought in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And now there is not only no 5s, there are no 4s, and all there's left is a few 3s. Okay? Well under half of the area that the 5s were able to come in and pick. So 6 areas in this thing have pretty much taken all the best areas, and there's a lot of unused, spaces, simply because you've allowed people to come in and pick where their center is and their size is. Now, on the other hand, switch colors here. If you had a centralized system, this same area, if you look at the green lines, has 12 5 by 5 areas. Everyone gets the 5 by 5 area. There's no space, there's no place for squatters, and more importantly, there's no place where someone can camp out and muster a force to attack you from your own border. So the green system is much more accurate, has 0 waste, and allows more people to come in and get the prime areas without having all sorts of arguments that now I'm forced to only be able to get this tiny little spot. And but in the meantime, even with you see under the black ones, you get lots of little 1 by 1s. Very difficult to economically make a base out of those at all. So you get wasted space. Is there a precedent, though, for this kind of central planning, you call it, for lack of a better term? And so that the way it would work is that if you put your data spike anywhere in this square, it would say, here, you put it here, this is the square you are, it's available for claiming, can you take it? You put your data spike really anywhere inside of this, it would say, here's the scope of the area, It's unclaimed. Do you want it? Or if you put it in someone else's and say this area is already claimed. But is there a precedent for that kind of a system? And that, in fact, there is. It's called the PLSS, or Public Land Survey System. And it goes all the way back to Thomas Jefferson, who was the first person to propose it. Jefferson, a really brilliant scientist and engineer. It was becoming evident that the United States was going to start picking up, had started picking up lands through conquest and purchases and just general expansions further towards the west. And he suggested that as we get these spaces, we simply pick a meridian, pick a latitude, make that 0, and then we have 6 square miles by 6 square mile blocks divided into 6 mile by 6 mile townships, and we're called divided into 1 mile by 1 mile sections, and then you have quarter sections within each section. That way we can get a new piece of territory and immediately start thinking about how it gets divided up, how it gets used, even though it might be years until anybody actually goes there. Sound familiar? Sounds a lot like a new planet being discovered by the UEE. They could have this system and immediately just put one stake in, have it do a stellar cartography, figure out where the equator and the pole is, where its relationship to the equator and the pole is, and boom, set up a grid right from the very first stake. And then you already have a structure for bringing people in and settling. It's basically the exact same problem that UEE would be facing in a new star or a new planet or a new moon that the United States was facing when it suddenly purchased Louisiana territory, for example. And pretty much the entirety of the United States west of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers is still shows the original PLSS survey lines. You can see it from the air. So the real thing that got me triggered, that I felt I had to talk about, was the fact that Todd Papy was saying that you could put your stake anywhere and pick any distance you chose. That's where the real inefficiency shows up. It shows up whether you have circles or whether you have squares, but I showed it in the video in terms of circles because that's what they showed, and because that was the clearer example to illustrate, although I think I did a fair job here, and that it did not match what they had sold to us with the data spike, the land spike sale. And when my actual point was that when they've sold you something that gets you a predefined square of a certain size, then that's a certain obligation to deliver that, particularly when there's no real cost or problem with not delivering it that way. And I hope this has been clarified. And again, the PLSS, Public Land Survey System, is an interesting topic if you want to Google it. And thank you for watching. That'll be it for this week's members' comments. Again, to be in next week's members' comments, just be a member, of course, and then to put your comment anywhere in any post. I'll be surveying them all. And so it can even be kind of off topic if you want me to talk about something that's off topic. Apart from that, I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to be, as soon as we end this live stream, I've already written the script. I'm going to start recording a video again on the base building system, but actually on what is likely to be a very interesting topic about the base building system, and that is attacking and defending bases in general, but in particular in nullsec space. Because I think a lot of people are actually, the main reason why they're excited about the base building system is because they want to play a sort of capture the flag kind of gameplay where I set up the base and you get to attack it, or you get to attack my base. And so there needs to be some regulation, some thought given, because this is a main part of gameplay that people have been looking for a long period of time. And one of the parts of it is going to be having a system like the green lines, where you know your neighbors and your neighbors can easily help you form sort of a regional defensive cooperation group, Whereas the black system, where there's lots of places where enemies can muster their soldiers, land troops, and there's nobody who has responsibility for being able to say squat about it, because that's literally what they are. They're squatters. Um, so that's what you can look forward to me probably in the next 48 hours. Other than that, fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Danny Raymond, the Rays guy.